All right, straight to other stories now. President Muhammadu Buhari on February 14 signed the Business Facilitation Bill 2022, also known as the Omnibus Bill, into law to provide an enabling environment for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, in the country. The executive bill was presented as the Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provision Act 2023, a legislative intervention by the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, which amends 21 business-related laws, removing bureaucratic constraints to doing business in Nigeria. Now, the new law also codifies Executive Order 001 on transparency and efficiency in public service delivery, the administration's first executive order aimed at strengthening ease of doing business reforms across the country. Now, will this law spell a new era for MSMEs in Nigeria? Well, it's time to look at the intricacies involved, and joining us is Olusegun Kwande, Chairman, Ikeja District Society of ICANN. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Bolanle, and to all our viewers, good morning. My pleasure to be here this morning. I hope the election fever is not catching you.
Not at all. We are all anticipating the results, even as we wait on INEC. But let's delve straight into the matter of focus. The Business Facilitation Bill 2022, also known as the Omnibus Bill, has been signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari after several years of being a bill. It's now an act. Is this new dawn for MSMEs in Nigeria?
Yes, I'm sure if you see the way the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has actually been working to improve the life of the MSMEs, you know that it's the right step in the right direction. Now, with this bill becoming an act, is going to improve some of the things that we've actually been agitating for. I'm sure one of the focal points is how to the ease of doing business, how to reduce the bureaucratic way of interacting even with the government agency, which has been a serious issue. And then there are certain funds that are actually made available for MSMEs to actually make use of. Pardon me, I always make use of SMEs. I take out the medium because I'm still a small medium enterprise. So you discover that every activity of the federal government, most especially during this administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, has looked for a way. And the essence of it is that we should bring the middle class level. That's where the SMEs, where they operate from. If you're able to close the middle ground level between the eyebrow and the lower cadre people, definitely your economy will boom, and you will be able to lift people who are below the ladder up either.
Well, the law is a legislative intervention by the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, that's PEBEC, and it's amending 21 business-related laws, removing bureaucratic constraints, as you mentioned, to doing business in Nigeria. Now, let's analyze some of these constraints. You've already talked about the fact that it would make business easy to do in Nigeria, and then they've talked about cutting down on the bureaucratic processes. We know that in Nigeria, when it comes to the business environment, MSMEs always complain of issues like lack of power, lack of enabling environment. But let's analyze some of these constraints that these laws seeks to tackle.
Yeah, when you looked at some of the composition of the operating cost of an SMEs, you discovered that power plays a major role. But before we even get to power, we talk about security. I'm sure for SMEs, we move from one place to the other. It's not only concentrated in your area. If you are into buying and selling some of the things, you're buying, you're getting it from one place, most especially agricultural produce or consumable. So the safety of the environment is very fundamental, and this bill is definitely addressing some of those stuff. When you come to the power, there are propositions to see how we can manage this. Currently, the government is looking at how we can improve power supply, most especially in the industrial area, so that we can reduce the cost of production, because the alternative power supply, as we speak, is contributing immensely to the high cost of production. So if we can make use of the power being generated from the grid, you discover that some of the products that we have currently will be at a minimal cost. Also logistics, we can see what the infrastructure this administration have tried to put in to enhance the business delivery in terms of transportation, in terms of road infrastructure. These are some of the things that the government is actually working on in such a way to make sure that the small businesses climb the ladder. And you know that one of the exceptions that they've given to our SMEs is to make sure that you don't pay income tax to the federal inland revenue except you have more than 25 million turnover, which is a good incentive for people to do. I'm sure some of those funds that you're supposed to pay as your CIT definitely can be plugged back into the business for growth. And by the time you scale the order of that 25,000, you would have stabilized yourself in such a way that you can grow the business.
So apparently these constraints would go away. Do you see them going away with this new law?
Yeah, it will be in a systematic form. It's not going to be a drastic thing that we're going to expect. All things being equal, if everyone is able to play their quota, you know, there is one thing for you to sign the bill to act. There's another thing for the right implementation of some of the policies that are entrenched in it, and that's where the players have a role to play here. Both the operators of the bill and those that the bill will definitely be used on. Okay. This year we expect that you speak out if some of those things are not working as planned, so that we can effectively check those activities, so that the major motive of government bringing up this Business Facilitation Act can definitely come to reality.
Well, indeed, you just hit the nail on the head, because I was coming to implementation. The fact that there are several laws in Nigeria that aren't implemented, and it's not actually a case of having laws. Some people would say that the problem isn't really about having several laws, because there are even some business laws that should aid the growth and business environment, the growth of and development of business environment in Nigeria. But these laws, they just take the back seat when it comes to implementation. Do you see this actually being different? What are the indications that it will be effective?
Yeah, well, if I want to talk as a normal Nigerian, I will say, well, it's business as usual. But at this point, I want to charge the people that the bills are actually meant for, which is the MSMEs, that we should learn to speak up. We can definitely engage the agency that is responsible for this, for feedback mechanism. You see, when most of these implementations are carried out, the feedback mechanism is poor. Even the people that those laws are meant for, that are supposed to carry it out, even when things are pinching them, they do not even react, they don't respond. We have this attitude of just let the sleeping dog lies, will continue to manage. Areas where we should improve on is the communication between the agency responsible for the implementation and those business, the MSMEs are looking for ways to revert back. And then some of those things should be implemented. I can give credit to the Finance Act. You know, before Finance Act came to being, over 20 years it's been sitting idle. But part of the things is that the professionals have got involved in giving engagement to the concerns ministry and agency to make sure that they give their input. And that's why you can see that the Finance Act 2019, 2020, 2021, there has been improvement, because there are feedbacks even from the people that this act are meant for. So the same we want to happen. If we just allow the law to be, those that are actually implementing might feel that they are doing the right thing, but you that you are actually exercising those things that are carrying out the business itself can give a feedback for them to improve on it. And anytime that the stakeholders engagement are being brought up, let the professional, then let the SMEs, those that get engaged in business in all diversity, make their contribution, make their submission at the appropriate quarter for improvement. It's the starting point. We might have some teaching in implementation, but I can tell you, if the feedback are implemented, just like we have the Finance Act, we see this enhancing and entrenching our business growth, and definitely our economy on a larger scale will be better off for it.
Quite apt. Let's look at one of the main objectives, which is to promote ease of doing business in the country. I'd like to know if you're optimistic about this. I know you've been talking about the fact that ease of doing business would, of course, improve with this new law. But the last ranking for Nigeria was 131 out of 190 countries, and that was in 2019, from 146 in 2018. Do you see this improving our ranking in the ease of doing business? Because if you look at some of the factors that are considered in the ease of doing business, they talk about registration, ease of registration with the CAC. But there are also other factors, like in the manufacturing sector, the raw materials that are needed to produce all of these end products are really not available to manufacturers. Do you see this law tackling that?
Yeah, there was a slight break while you're trying to pass your message, but at least I can add one and two together to respond to that. You see, personally, as an individual, I'm optimistic about any policy that government is bringing, because before those policies are put together, you would have had the contribution of individuals, stakeholders, engagement, and when it comes to implementation, I think what we always lack is the feedback from the people that we are using those laws. If we have the feedback and we implement them, I can tell you, like I cited the example the other time of the Finance Act. You see, when it comes to ease of doing business, your report that you've given states that we moved from 2018, where we had 144 to 131, 146 to
2018 to 131 in 2019.
That's a good improvement in 2019. This is 2022. I can assure you, if you are not in the double digits, we should be nearing it as we speak. You can see that in relatively, insecurity seems to be a thing of the past. There are other implementation from the monetary policy regulators, from the fiscal policy regulators, trying to tame the inflation rate, even though there are still little gap. But we believe that if we continue to monitor activity, we will definitely get the better part of it. But areas where I feel we citizens needs to give to make this work is by giving feedback. See, if I'm telling you something, if I'm asking you to do something voluntarily, and I'm not getting feedback from you, what that implies is that things are working well and my ideas are actually succeeding. But if you're able to give feedback, we might be able to weigh the pros and cons of some of the suggestions that you are giving to us.
Let me jump in there, Mr. Okwade. It's one thing to have the zeal or the enthusiasm to want to give feedback. It's another thing for you to have a platform via which you can give the feedback. We know that when it comes to consumer protection rights, for instance, a lot of Nigerians have complained about the services they get from business owners, but they really do not get that, what's it called now? That communication line isn't as effective as it should be. And when you talk about feedback, if the line isn't open, if the communication line isn't open, if the platform isn't effective, how effective would the feedback in itself be if there's no way for them to give the feedback?
Yeah, well, I think some of the things we missed out here, it's most of us are not even conversant with the communication channel. And I'll blame that to...
All right, talking to...
let me cite a small example of this gesture, which all of us are now. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me, Bolale?
I can hear you.
Okay, if you look at just concluded election, there are several information that was being circulated by the INEC, which majority did not even have understanding of how to trace that thing. At times, some of these communication are passed to the concerned people, but we choose to just ignore because of the trust deficit that we already have in the system. Part of the enthusiastic I try to give to people is that when things are put to, when policies are put to test, let's try to be part of those that will put those check.
All right, talking about communication platform, especially when it comes to feedback for this business facilitation bill that has now become an act and that was recently signed to law by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Those that have issues, I'm hearing you very well, Bolanle.
All right, let's get your final thoughts as we bring this to a close.
Yeah, well, my final thought is that we want to encourage the agency saddled with the responsibility of implementing this law to make sure that they respond to every feedback that they get from those that the laws are meant for, and also for our people to always bring in suggestion, looking for a way to improve it. This is the beginning of this act, as it's just nearly been signed, and we expect that there will be few challenges, but as we improve, continuously, the major objective of this bill will definitely be achieved, and it's a two-way thing. The agency must be ready to listen to those that are using the law and bring to implementation some of the things that they are suggesting to them.
Very robust and educative analysis there. Thank you so much, Sheson Okwade, Ikeja District Society of ICANN Chairman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Bolanle, and have a beautiful day today.
Have a great day yourself. Still to come after the break, observers predicted that the 2023 elections would surpass that of 1993, recorded as the freest and fairest election so far in the country. How true is this, especially as we're still in that season of elections and we're seeing all of the skirmishes following the recently conducted elections? We'll analyze all of this after the break. Stay with us.